complete. If it's not complete, then we can open a code enforcement action. And if it continues not to be complete, as Mr. Sanford had said, we could do a revocation. I don't anticipate that's going to happen, but that way it won't land in front of you again. We can handle it with a department action.
Do we need to take any action, or
Excuse me?
do we need to take any action?
Do we need to make a motion to turn this over to code compliance?
We could just move it.
Or are we just going to leave it alone?
Okay.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chair, Zach Bunyan for the record. I move that no further review is needed for Granite Propane.
Motion been made, no further review is needed by Commissioner Bunyer, second by Commissioner Cody. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, public hearing. Item A, a temporary use permit application for temporary quarters during home construction filed by John Pacino for property located at 420 Bench Road. Please state your name and address for the record.
John Pacino, my address is 990 Cedar Lake Road, Fallon. I'm one of the owners of 420 Bench. And it caught on fire and burnt down, and the principal owner, Gary Reno, asked me to step in and get the place cleaned up and get it functional as a viable property. We're building a house. Currently, we're just doing cleanup. We have an electrical contract, Vinnie, who's supposed to file for a permit to get the electric. Nevada Energy took 3 months, and they finally put a pole in and hooked me up with the pole. Now we're waiting for the contractor to hook the electric up.
You keep hitting the button, sir. There you go. Yeah.
Make sure that stays green right there.
Oh, okay. We're in the, we plan on, let me back up. We plan to reconnect the existing underground conduit to the existing power to the back building and reconnect the water pump. No new construction here, but we will file a permit for rebuilding the structure and anything else needed, fence and stuff like that. We haven't filed for anything because we're waiting for Vinnie to get us electric, and we get the pump so we can have electric and water there. The reason why I applied for this, we've been subject of vandalism, theft, and threat of life. Police has been out there a few times, and the only way I know to rectify that is to have a presence out there. There's two of us. The principal owner, granddaughter, Crystal Reno, is out there, and then I'm going to be out there. We requested 2 units because she's 33 and I'm going to be 60. And it just feels inappropriate to share one place with her, in my eyes. I'm old school. So we applied for 2 RVs, which I purchased. We took them off until we got this, and I think she moved back in because somebody stole her camera that we had on the pole. So the reason for us to be there is for presence and security while we go through this process. And that's all we're asking for, is be able to stay there legally. Going back through the records, I haven't found any permits for that property for any work, so we want to rectify that by doing what we have to do to make it legal and make it a valuable piece of property for the neighborhood. So that's our intent.
Thank you. Director Spross, do you like to summarize, or did he do a good job for you?
He did a pretty good job. But just for the record, so the applications for a temporary use permit, the use table listing is for 2 temporary quarters for home construction. The applicant is John Pacino. The owners are John Pacino, Crystal Reno, and Gary Reno. The site is 420 Bench Road, which is APN 007-141-20, which is 4.38 acres. The designation in the master plan is agriculture with residential, and the zoning is A10. So as the applicant has stated, they are requesting temporary use permit for 2 temporary quarters during home construction. The original home burnt down in March of 2023. The applicant is requesting 2 recreational vehicles so that each of the 2 property owners will be on site, will have their own RV. Due to recent instances of theft, the applicant has indicated the need for an on-site security and construction supervision in addition to the existing cameras on site. The application states that the RVs are on-site and set up for use. However, they have since been removed pending approval of this TUP. The applicant verbally indicated both units are 1995 model year RVs. There is power to the property, and the applicant intends to have the temporary pedestals installed for the RVs to connect to. Vinnie's Electric will be doing the electrical work and applying for all necessary permits. Sewage disposal is proposed using new connections to the existing septic tank, and water will come from the existing domestic well. The complication for this proposal is that the applicant, I did the same thing. The complication for this proposal is that the applicant proposes multiple RVs on site. The request for 2 units is not typical, but it would be acceptable for each of the 2 property owners who intend to live on site to occupy their own RVs. We did receive a letter from the building department, which I will issue to Mr. Pacino once we conclude.
This conference will now be recorded.
The search of the records available in the county building department did not produce any permits, which was stated by the applicant. If this temporary use permit is approved, the building department requires the following prior to occupation of either of the recreational vehicles. 1, a placement permit must be applied for and issued for each recreational vehicles within 30 days of the TUP approval. Those are a $200 fee each. The electrical connection to each recreational vehicle must be inspected and approved by the Churchill County Building Department, and the septic connection must also be inspected for each recreational vehicle and approved by the Churchill County Building Department. Prior to any construction of the new home, a building permit must be applied for and issued prior to starting any construction, and inspections of all phases of construction are required. So based on the information in the application, letters received, staff does recommend approval of this TUP. There are conditions of approval that are a part of that. Number 1, the temporary quarters must comply with Churchill County Code. 2, all required building approvals and safety certificates must be obtained. Any setup permit necessary for the setup of the temporary quarters must be obtained along with any required inspections of water, septic, and electrical connections of connecting to a service, as outlined in the letter. All necessary permits for home construction must be obtained, including permits for a new foundation, as outlined in the letter. The temporary quarters must use temporary construction practices. It may not be placed on a permanent foundation and must use the existing water well, power supply, and septic system unless deemed infeasible by the building department. Number 4, the temporary quarters must use temporary construction practices. That's a double, so I won't read that again. Number 5, this temporary use permit is subject to annual renewal. The applicant must show substantial progress of home construction during the annual review hearing. And finally, once the home construction is complete enough to allow habitation, the RVs must be disconnected from sewer, water, electrical services and made lawful at its subsequent location. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Fully understand the requirements and I have the same stuff. I talked to the building inspector. The only question I have is on the foundation. I have to get an inspector out to look at poured stress concrete, but it was like a crawl space, so it's open in the middle, and they were telling me it has to be solid, and I like to have somebody come out and look at it, because to break that up and redo a foundation that's solid slab is a little bit outside the budget that we're allowed to do, so that's the only thing that I'm mentioning to the board that I'm questioning, is the foundation, because if we can keep the foundation, instead of a new build, it'll be a remodeled, because we're going to attach it to that foundation, and all the lines are there, so.
Okay.
So that's my point of view on it.
Concerning the foundation, that's between you and the building department.
Right, well, I just
Okay,
want to
so
bring it up so everything's on the
That has
table.
no concern of ours.
Okay.
Okay. Can you share with the board where you feel you will be in 1 year from today? The progress
Well,
level?
hopefully, I put a timeline together. I'm thinking we can get this, what I designed, plans is more of a 2-bedroom house, smaller. We'll be able to expand later on, but just to get a building built so we can live there properly, I'm thinking 6 to 8 weeks but I'm worried about the winter, so we may not start that construction until winter's over. And that's all I got. I don't know, I'm not familiar with the weather's gonna be up there. So I'm thinking that we're gonna probably go 110%. Let's see, I just figured it out in my head sitting back there. March, April, we'll start doing real hard. Right now, we're just done cleaning up. We just spent $30,000 on cleanup, and we just gotta get the basics set up. And then worry about security. We have to redo the fence. There's a lot of work that has to be done before we can actually build a building. Basically for health, safety. Our health, our safety, and security. And that's my first goal. That's phase one. Phase two will be the actual construction of the framed out, normal procedure. I'll probably get a contractor in, not to do it myself. We're shopping now for a contractor. The hard thing is getting people to come out to
Okay,
work.
so by this time next year, you'll
We
be
should be
almost.
done way
you'll
before
be
this time.
Cleaning up, finishing it up.
Yeah, I can't, I have to move up there.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
It's
you.
one of the requirements of the principal owner. He wants me to move up there, clean it up, and make it right. Okay? And so to do that, I have to move there, so that's going to be my new home.
Okay, we
Go.
understand. Thank you. Does the commission have any questions or discussion? None heard. Is there any public comment concerning this matter? None heard. Ask the commission for a motion for the findings, if they've been met or not.
Mr. Chair, Zach Bunyer, for the record, based on the information provided in the application and the staff report and tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance with criteria for a temporary use permit in Churchill County Code 16.08.070F on APN 007-141-20.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Bunyer, seconded by Commissioner Pacody. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now I ask the commission for a motion on the decision.
Mr. Chair, based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the temporary use permit application for Mr. John Puccino
Placino, that's
and
fine.
Crystal Reno to establish 2 temporary quarters for home construction at 420 Bench Road, APN 007-141-20. This approval is subject to conditions as listed in the staff report.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Pacody, seconded by Commissioner Bunyer. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. There's a 10-day appeal period, and at that time, the planning department will contact you to complete the process.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your
Thank
time,
you.
gentlemen.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9, public hearing. Item B, special use permit application for a feline kennel filed by Debbie Hunter of Fallon Animal Welfare Group, property located at 4629 Reno Highway. Please state your name and address for the record.
Debbie Hunter. My address or the address that's going to be? I'll have to look it up. It's on the Reno Highway there.
4629.
Yes, 4629 Reno Highway.
Serena Clark. What was it? 4629 Reno Highway. 4629 Reno Highway.
Thank you. Director Spross, to summarize the application.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Pross for the record. So the application's for a special use permit. The use listing is an animal kennel for cats. The applicant is Debbie Hunter for the Fallon Animal Welfare Group. The owner of the property is Thane Hammond. The site is 4629 Reno Highway, which is APN 006-473-20, which is 0.98 acres. The designation in the master plan is urbanizing, and the zoning is C2. So the applicant's requesting a special use permit for a kennel to house and adopt cats and kittens. The applicant accepts all cats and kittens from the Fallon Animal Control and is a no-kill shelter. The applicant previously operated under an approved SUP on the adjoining property to the west, but has ceased operations on that site and intends to relocate to this site. Kennels can be proposed in the C2 zoning district through a special use permit. The site fronts Reno Highway and is developed with a 3,021 square foot multi-tenant commercial building. The applicant will occupy the two front units, which total approximately 1,500 square feet. The site is developed with a well and a septic system. The kennel houses an average of 10 to 40 friendly cats and kittens at any given time for adoption to the general public. No changes are proposed to the outside of the building. Cat waste is cleaned up by volunteers and disposed of in the trash. Feral cats are housed at a separate location which has an approved special use permit. The site is normally staffed by 1 to 2 volunteers who visit 2 to 3 times per day, 7 days a week to tend to the facility and care for the cats. Volunteers may occasionally visit the site after hours to care for the cats. The applicant anticipates 4 to 6 customer trips per day and no more than 20 trips total per day between the volunteers and the customers. The applicant does not anticipate any truck traffic or deliveries. We did receive some letters. We got a letter from the building department that stated with the proposed configuration of the proposed use, no other changes or alterations to the existing property are required to meet the code. We received feedback from the fire marshal. Other than requiring an inspection prior to them moving in any animals into the building, there is no special requests or requirements from the fire marshal. We received a letter from the Department of Transportation that states this proposal appears to have minimal impact on NDOT infrastructure. NDOT has no concerns with the proposal. The commissioners have 5 criteria that they need to determine eligibility. One being, is it compatible with the existing surrounding land uses and development? 2, is it in substantial conformance with the master plan and policies and will be constructed and operated in full compliance of this code? 3, the project will be constructed and operated in a manner that will not overburden public services and infrastructure. 4, it adequately mitigates road and traffic impacts generated by the construction and build-out of the project. And 5, it does not create any adverse environmental impacts, including but not limited to noise, glare, fumes, and odor that may be detrimental to either public health, public safety, or general welfare of the persons or property in the vicinity, or the wildlife and or natural resources. By staff going through the application and reviewing those 5 criteria, staff has determined that the application meets all 5 of those criteria, either at face value or within conditions proposed in the recommendations. With that, staff does recommend approval with the following conditions. Number 1, approval of the animal kennel is limited to the following. Exceeding these limits will require a new SUP. A, the Fallon Animal Welfare Group shall be the operator, and this permit is not transferable. B, the number of animals shall be limited to 40. C, this kennel shall only be used to house cats. Other animals and activities such as training classes are not allowed without a new SUP. 2, the project must be in conformance with county code, including but not limited to A, business license must be obtained and maintained. B, all necessary building permits must be obtained. And C, ADA accessibility criteria must be met as deemed necessary by the building department. 3, the highway access apron shall be cleaned and kept clear of gravel and other material that prevents a clean acceleration from the property. And 4, operations shall be conducted in a manner that does not create a nuisance, public or private, under Nevada law or Churchill County Code. That being, animal waste will be cleaned from the litter boxes daily. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they would like to add?
Yes, I do. We are a 501c3, and I don't know if that really requires, we're not a business, if we really need a business license.
Yes, you do.
Okay,
And you can contact the planning department. They'll help you with that.
okay.
Okay? Is there anything else you'd like to add? Thank you. Is there any questions or discussion from the commission?
One quick question, Director Sprouse, did you say that the adjoining property already has an SUP for the feral cats? Is that correct?
No, so the feral cats are being housed at a completely different location that they have an approved SUP for. They were operating in the adjoining facility and now have ceased operations there and are moving next door.
Any other further discussion? Is there any public comment concerning this matter?
I just have one, and that's wondering.
Please come forward to the podium, and that little round thing has some red buttons on it. Touch one of those till it turns green, state your name and address for the record, and then your concern.
Not green yet.
Just press it once. There you go.
Okay, now it's green. Name's Brenda Utterback, 900 Gummo Drive. And my question is just, are they open every day for people to come see the cats? And, you know, if the cats get sick or whatever, is there certain days they're going to be open, or just volunteers going in to take care of the cats? Simple question.
Okay, Ms. Hunter, can you address that question for the lady?
Well, there'll be people there every day. We can make, if we're not going to be open, we'll have to see what days will work for everybody. And a lot of it will be by appointment. So they can call, we can make an appointment and meet them down there.
Okay, maybe after the meeting, you can speak with her and get some information, and you
Sounds
guys can
great.
work that out.
Sounds great. Thank you
so
very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I just for clarification, it seems like you've all nodded through this whole entire process and are aware of all of the recommendations or, recommended conditions. And other than the business license one, you're
Yeah.
agreeable to all of these then? Okay,
Yeah.
and the 501c still has to have a business
Yeah.
license anyway, so, okay.
I could be wrong here, but I'm sure you guys already have a business license. Because all you're doing is changing locations, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we have one or not, to tell you the truth. Oh, you have one? Okay. I believe so. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's no further discussion, I ask the commission for a motion for the findings.
Is it-
Mr. Director, or Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record. I move, let me get back up here. Based on the information provided in the application, the staff report tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance for the criteria of a special use permit found in Churchill County Code 16.08.080H on APN number 008-473-20.
Motion been made by Commissioner Goings, second by Commissioner Cody. Those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I now ask for a motion on the decision.
Mr. Chair, Zach Wynyard for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the special use permit application for the Fallon Animal Welfare Group to operate an animal kennel for cats at 4629 Reno Highway, APN 008-473-20. This approval is subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
Motion been made by Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Goings. Those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. There's a 10-day appeal period, and at which time the planning department will contact you to complete the process.
Okay.
Thank you and good luck.
Right. Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, public hearing, be item D. Special use permit application for an RV park filed by Joey Jennings for Sage Valley RV Park for property located at 4800 Reno Highway. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this application? Just please state your name and business address for the record.
Yes, sir. I'm Joey Jennings, 4800 Reno Highway.
Thank you. Director Spross, you summarize the application?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Spross for the record. So the application is for a special use permit. The use table listing is an RV park, rebuild or expand. The applicant is Joey Jennings, the general manager. The owner is Sage Valley Park LLC. The site is 4800 Reno Highway, APN 008-472-12, which is 13.18 acres, and the RV park is on approximately 4.5 acres of that. Designation in the master plan is urbanizing, and zoning is C1. A little bit of site history. It has a fairly extensive history of permitting, and I just want to go through that. In 1966, the Board of County Commissioners approved the RV park, which at the time was called the Hub Total. The applicant claimed that it was for 50 spaces, but they only built 20. They were all arranged in one row in the shape of a horseshoe that generally matches the recent layout inside row. In 1972, the SUP was approved for an additional 15 spaces, totaling 35. In 1980, the property changed hands. In 1981, an SUP approved of a concept for an expanded RV park and a new mobile home park behind the RV park. This allowed for 52 spaces, it's written in my notes that somebody later manually changed that to 62, but in 1983, the agency letters all say 52. In 1983, an SUP was approved, the construction plans for the RV park expansion and the mobile home park construction. The agency reviews took over 8 months according to those letters. Somewhere in the 2000s, air photos between 2005 and 2022 consistently show 41 RV spaces. They were arranged in 2 rows in the shape of a horseshoe. The ownership once again changed to the Kinshaw Group in 2005, and then 4800 Reno Highway LLC in 2016. In 2018, there was a septic failure notice from NDEP at the Southwest Septic Field. In 2020, at the end of the year, the property sold to Sage Valley Park LLC. In 21, reconstruction of the site began. The applicant's engineer had been working with NDEP regarding rebuilding the infrastructure for both the mobile home parks and the RV park. In 2022, communications began regarding the current SUP and extensive communication and reviews of plans and forms. So the permits for the RV park gave a definitive number of units as 35. In the decades afterwards, a consistent number of actual sites in the RV was 41. This application includes both the rebuilding and a request for expansion that will resolve any discrepancies in the past RV spaces. The proposed number of RV spaces is 39. 39 spaces may not be possible depending on approval of the variance, which is another item on this agenda for tonight. So the need for the SUP is largely because of the past RV spaces were wiped clean and all new facilities being installed, thus losing their non-conforming status. If the RV park proposal is approved, a decision on the variance may necessitate adjustment of the layout. Summary of the RV park layout proposed in this SUP is as follows. Access is from US 50 using the historic driveway, and there are no changes proposed to that. The driveway crosses the TCID drain, and there's no changes proposed to that. The driveway splits at the site office, which are the central facilities, and circles the RV park being rebuilt. The office and central facilities are surrounded on the north side by the horseshoe shape of the RV spaces. Central facilities include the manager's residence, the bathrooms, a laundry and maintenance shop, and landscaping. The manager manages all Sage Valley Park facilities. The proposed RV spaces are arranged in the historic horseshoe shape with 2 rows of RV spaces and a driveway in between them. The proposed driveway is 20 feet wide and is made up of gravel. Historic photos indicate that it was a gravel driveway before, though surface stabilization or dust control such as oil was applied. Rebuilt utility mains, specifically sewer, water, and electrical, are proposed to follow under the 2 rows of RV spaces, with short service segments extending to each of the spaces' connections. The original RV spaces were orientated at an angle to the driveway, which had the effect of reducing the length of side-to-side frontage of individual RVs compared to a 90-degree side-by-side stacking. The proposed layout uses the same approach. Individual space layout is shown as a typical drawing on the site plan with a dimension of 21 feet by 41 feet. This layout requires a variance, which are the subject of the next agenda item. The fire marshal has concerns about insufficient space between RVs because of the predominance of pop-outs in modern RVs that can nearly double the width of RVs and can place them very close together. The concern relates to a fire consuming one RV catching an adjacent one on fire across the small separation. Again, there are 5 criteria used to determine the eligibility. 1, is it compatible with the existing surrounding land uses and development? 2, is it in substantial conformance with the master plan and policies and will be constructed and operated in full compliance of this code? 3, the project will be constructed and operated in a manner that will not overburden the public services and infrastructure. 4, it adequately mitigates road and impacts generated by the construction and build-out of the project. And 5, does not create adverse environmental impacts, including but not limited to noise, glare, fumes, and odor that may be detrimental either to public health, public safety, or general welfare of the person or property in the vicinity, or the wildlife and or natural resources. We did receive some letters. We received a letter from NDEP. The proposal from the permittee to reconfigure the RV park from 50 to 39 spaces plus office does not require a permit modification from NDEP. The Bureau of Safe Drinking Water has reviewed and approved the expansion of the public water system to serve a total of 50 spaces. Churchill County only approves 39. The reduced number of spaces will need to be reflected on as-built drawings once the project is constructed. Otherwise, the Bureau of Safe Drinking Water does not have any additional comments. We received a letter from NDOT, and basically NDOT states that any improvements in the NDOT right-of-way will require an approachment permit. As noted in the discussion, there are no changes to the approach going into the property. After review of the application and numerous discussions with the applicant, the staff is recommending approval with numerous conditions. Staff has found that those 5 criteria have been met either at face value or with the application of the conditions. So number 1, the permit is subject to an annual review to confirm compliance with conditions until such a time as the Planning Commission determines it is no longer necessary. 2, the maximum number of approved spaces is 39, but the number shall be reduced to meet any standards resulting from denial of the requested variance, which is the next agenda item. 3, before construction may begin, a revised site plan shall be provided that includes a revised layout and any modifications required to meet code requirements or conditions of approval, including RV spacing, lighting, landscaping, setback compliance, trash collection, bin screening, and other requirements discussed in the staff report. Conditions of approval for the associated variance to RV spacing standards are incorporated in this permit. 5, all RV space facilities shall be installed, including borders to identify each RV space, hookups for each RV space, and the landscaped recreation area shown on the site plan for each RV space. 6, the entire business must be in conformance with county code, including but not limited to business licenses must be maintained, all necessary building permits must be obtained, the RV park must meet standards for RV spacing except for as approved in a variance. The horseshoe-shaped driveway shall be improved by adding road base or other methods to provide driving surface strong enough to support fire trucks to the fire marshal's satisfaction. Lighting for the RV park shall meet lighting standards for dark sky compliant fixtures. Central facilities shall be modified to be ADA accessible. And you'll have to contact the building department for information on those requirements. The RV water supply facilities for 3/4-inch services and freeze-proof valves shall be installed. Refuse collection bins and screening of them shall meet county standards. Pest control shall be implemented in compliance with the code requirements. Number 7, fire extinguisher stations shall be placed around the RV park of a size, number, location, and identification that is acceptable to the fire marshal. 8, landscaping shall be provided to rehabilitate and advance the recreation area between RV park and the highway. The recreation area for each RV space shall be landscaped and include a tree or a shrub as proposed on the site plan. Number 9, operation of the business shall be conducted in a manner that does not create a nuisance, whether public or private, under Nevada law or Churchill County Code. And finally, number 10, all state and/or federal permits required for this type of business shall be obtained and maintained. And with that, if there's any questions, Mr. Patterson will be happy to answer any of them.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add or further comment concerning this matter?
Okay. No, my discussions with planning have been relevant to everything that we need to do. So coming into compliance, if you were to approve the variances, would be nice, but I guess that's why we're here to discuss. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Does the commission have any questions or discussion?
Mr. Chair, not to interrupt, I did neglect to say one thing. We also got a letter from the building department. I am not going to read this into the record because it is 2 pages long, but it basically discusses parking and passenger loading facilities, and I will give this to the applicant so that he can see what the building department is requiring.
Thank you. Back to the commission for discussion or questions? Is there any public comment concerning this matter? None heard? As no further discussion from the commission, refer to a motion for the findings, have or have not been met.
Mr. Chair, Zach Vineyard for the record. Based on the information provided in the application in the staff report and heard tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance with criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08.080H for the special use permit on APN 008-472-12.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Bunyer and second by Commissioner Pacody. Those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Now I ask for a motion for the decision.
Mr. Chair, based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the special use permit application for Sage Valley RV Park to authorize the proposed rebuilding and expansion at 4800 Reno Highway, APN 008-472-12. This approval is subject to conditions as listed in the staff report.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Pacody, second by Commissioner Goins. Those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. There's a 10-day appeal period, at which time the planning department will contact you and complete the process. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. If you'd like to stay there if you want.
Sure.
Let's see. Went through the wrong paper. The agenda, item number 9, public hearing. Item C, a variance application to reduce RV spacing requirements filed by Joey Jennings for Sage Valley RV Park located at 4800 Reno Highway. Please state your name and address again for the record.
Joey Jennings, 4800 Reno Highway.
Thank you. Director Spross?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Spross for the record. So the application is for 3 variances for the RV park unit spacing. The use table listing is an RV park rebuilding. Applicant is Joey Jennings. The owner is Sage Valley Park LLC. The site is 4800 Reno Highway, APN 008-472-12, 13.1 acres, and the RV park is on approximately 4.5 acres. Designation in the master plan is urbanizing, and the zoning is C2, and a portion is C1, which is north of the RV park. I won't give any background because we've heard some, but the application, the Sage Valley RV Park requests to reduce some spacing requirements in County Code Title 15 related to RV parks, and the mobile home parks are also addressed there, so that the RV park can be put back in a layout similar to how it was previously laid out for the past decade. Note that the pop-outs must be included in the spacing requirements. An important consideration was raised by the fire marshal that complicates the review of RV spacing requirements. A normal RV body is typically 8 feet wide. Large pop-outs can be 3 feet. A pop-out on both sides, an RV can readily expand to 14 feet wide. And if they have a pop-out within a pop-out, it can actually be wider. There's a picture that we have that will show an RV that has a pop-out within a pop-out. In addition, RVs are becoming amazingly long. 45-footers are not uncommon. So the three variance requests are as follows. Number one, Churchill County Code Title 15 requires a 23-foot RV space width. The applicant proposes that be reduced to 21 feet. Churchill County Code in Title 15 requires a 40-foot separation between RV fronts across an access way. The applicant proposes 20 feet, equal to the driveway width. And the third, Churchill County Code Title 15 requires 15 feet between the sides of RVs, and the application proposes 9 feet. If some of the variances are not granted, the site plan will have to be updated with an approved spacing, but this will not prevent the RV park from being viable. The fire marshal's concerns are that smaller separations increase the risk that an RV on fire will catch the adjacent RV on fire. The application narrative includes a statement that larger and wider RVs will be turned away. So there are 4 criteria that are required for this review. Number 1, the property is characterized by an extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition, such as exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape, or it has exceptional topographic conditions at the time of enactment of the regulations. Number 2, the strict application of the regulation would result in a peculiar and exceptional practical difficulty to or exceptional and undue hardships upon the owner of the property. 3, granting of this variance will not be materially detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity. And 4, the proposed variance is consistent with the intent and purpose of this title. We did receive comment from the fire marshal, and I had read that. His concern is the narrow spacing between the RVs, has a safety concern in terms of one RV catching another one on fire if that were to happen. Based on the staff's criteria review, staff has determined that the application does meet some of the conditions or some of the criteria, and with conditions will meet others. Staff recommendation is to approve the variance to reduce the cross-street setback to 20 feet, which is basically the width of the driveway. Staff recommends to deny the variance to reduce the RV space width, and staff recommends to approve the variance to reduce the side-by-side spacing of RVs to 10 feet. Again, those are recommendations made subject to conditions. Those conditions are the approved variances expire in 1 year, and what that means, the construction of the RV spaces must begin before that expiration. Number 2, the approved cross-street setback shall be 20 feet as measured at the RV space boundary corners that touch the driveway edge, with the understanding that normal RV spacing will be much wider. Number 3, the approved RV space width shall be 23 feet as required by code. 4, the approved minimum RV side-to-side spacing shall be 10 feet. 5, the RV park site manager shall monitor placement of RVs within the RV spaces and require adjustments of RV locations as needed to ensure required spacing limits are met. Installing visual guides or using other methods to help drivers correctly position their RVs is recommended. And number 6, the RV park shall be subject to random inspection by the fire marshal to confirm implementation of the spacing requirements. And with that, Mr. Patterson would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add or further comments?
I did have a sit-down with Mr. Patterson and the fire marshal to discuss those options that were acceptable to him. One being the width of the spaces changed from 21 to 23 feet wide, and that was acceptable to us because it was agreeable to him, as well as the 20-foot road width, as long as we keep that 20 feet clear of any trailer tongues or anything like that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions, discussion?
Zach Brennan for the record. So you've read the staff report then, so you see that we would approve the setback for 20 feet, and then the denial of the width, and then the approval of the side spacing by 10 foot, and that was okay with what you're looking for?
Now, can you repeat that? I'm a little hard of hearing.
So, in the staff's recommendation, so you understand then that the cross setback to 20 feet, you were good with that, right?
Yeah,
And then the denial for the RV space width, right?
right.
And then the 10 foot on the spacing. You were
Correct.
good on that on the side
Yeah.
by side?
Yeah. Yeah, we are good with that.
All right, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any public comment concerning this matter? None heard. I ask the commission for a motion of the findings as written there by the staff.
Mr. Chairman, before we get that far, I got to get Director Sprosta or Dean to answer. So if we're reducing or we're approving the RV side-to-side spacing, okay? And is that, and we're not going to approve any width change. According to the fire marshal, the width that is written in the code is enough to allow for these new pop-outs and so on and so forth, considering the RV side-to-side spacing. You follow what I'm saying? I'm just a little bit I got a little bit of confusion here. So if our width is not changing, it stays, the actual RV spot is not changing, we're going to keep that. But are we reducing the side-to-side spacing?
Just the reality, is this working? Yeah. Okay. Just the reality of how RVs are today compared to 30 years ago. The reality is that it's almost impossible to meet that 15-foot spacing that's in the code if you use the 23-foot space width that's in the code. So he was okay with reducing the side-to-side spacing to 10 feet, but he didn't want to go less. 10 feet is the number that's normal for house-to-house spacing, and he at least wanted to keep that. He's not happy with the current code standards because they are outdated and don't provide enough space for the very large RVs that we have today. So I think one of his objectives would be to revisit those code standards and change them, go with larger spacing requirements so that when you have the reality of these large RVs with large pop-outs, you'll still have enough space in between them. But you know, I think you got the gist already, is that he was willing to accept this. That's how it came out.
And just for my clarification, the 10-foot is from when the pop-outs are extended, it's 10 foot between the pop-outs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Just one other thing is,
Good.
is that while this 10 feet is the minimum, the reality is that the normal spacing will be wider because you have, not all RVs have the full-size pop-outs. You have the diagonal orientation of RVs, so you'd have to get the circumstance of an RV with a pop-out in one spot corresponding with an RV pop-out on the other spot, and so those are going to be more rare than if they were just side-by-side stacking. So, just to summarize is that this minimum width spacing will not be the normal thing that happens. It'll be more rare than that.
Thank you. There's no further discussion. Ask the motion for the findings.
Mr. Chair, Zach Bender for the record. Based on the information provided in the application and the staff report and heard tonight, I move that the findings for the conformance with criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08.090F, A, have been met for the variance from the cross-street setback requirement, B, have not been for a variance from an RV space width requirement, and C, have been for a variance from an RV side-by-side spacing requirement on APN 008-47212.
Motion been made by Commissioner Bunyer, second by Commissioner Bocote. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I now ask for a motion for the decision.
Mr. Chair, the motion for decision should be modified by Planning Commission as needed. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the request for variance to reduce the cross-street setback requirements. I move to deny the request for variance to reduce the RV space width requirements. Move to approve the request for variance to reduce the RV side-to-side spacing requirements at 4800 Reno Highway, APN 008-472-12, and this approval is subject to conditions as listed in the staff report.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Bocote, second by Commissioner Bunyer. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 10-day appeal period, and at that time, the planning department will contact you and move forward.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
Agenda item 10, action item, none. Agenda item number 11, consent agenda, items A, B, and C. Can I get a motion for approval?
Mr. Chair, Zach Bender for the record. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion been made by Commissioner Bocote, motion has been made by Commissioner Bunyer, second by Commissioner Bocote for approval of the consent agenda as written. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item number 12, public comment. Is there any further public comment? None heard. Agenda item number 13, adjourned. The meeting has been adjourned at 8:27 PM. Thank you.